continuing the series called Finding Yourself, based directly from the book Building a Sanctuary in the Heart, Bלבבי, משכן אבנה by Rabbi Itamar Schwartz. Clarifying the Purpose of Life, Part 2. If we were to ask people, what is your initial assumption, considering your present state, as to the most worthwhile and appropriate area in which to start your Avodat Hashem? One person might respond that it seems to him that his weak point is diligence in Torah study. And that from his point of view, that's the first area he must start on to work to fix. Another will reply that on self-introspection, he finds Lashon Hara to be his vulnerable point. He feels that he's not careful enough about guarding his tongue. Here and there, words that are improper or forbidden escape his lips. A third person would say that the way he views his situation, the issue that he must deal with is Shalom Bayit. He feels that this is something he has to deal with, and fast. He doesn't have enough patience with his family members. He doesn't include them sufficiently in his decision-making process. And he doesn't provide adequate and emotional support. And so we would find many varied responses among people. It would seem, therefore, that each person needs his own tailor-made response as to what is the correct path to follow, depending on his unique situation. However, the truth is not quite so. Rather, there is one point that everyone, almost without exception, must begin with. Every one of us has been sent from the higher worlds down to this world. Those who were worthy were sent here from Gan Eden, and those who were not were sent here from Gehinnom. The common denominator is that we all returned here to this world to serve Hashem. Why did we return to this world? Some people are familiar with the holy books and have seen in them that each person has returned in order to correct at least one sin that he committed in a previous life. That sin is his main test, and is the main issue he must rectify in this world. But the truth is that even if a person is sent to rectify a particular sin, his work does not begin with the correction of that sin, but much prior to that. One can talk about fixing something when, for example, there is a house that has something damaged, such as a wall, a door, or the like. Then one can say that that damage must be repaired. But if there isn't even a house, then there's no need to fix anything. First, you need a house, and then there can be a need to fix it. This is also the case with our Avodah of Hashem in this world. Even if, in fact, a person has come down here to rectify a particular sin, that doesn't mean that his entire task is only to rectify that sin, and that his work starts and finishes there. Rather, each person must first develop himself, building in his soul a well-founded structure of Avodat Hashem. Only after he has built himself in a true way will his main work be rectifying the sin for which he was sent down to this world to fix. But he first needs a well-founded structure in the soul, a sound framework of Avodat Hashem which is properly set up and well-defined. More than that, there are cases when a person rectifies the sin of his previous incarnation in a few minutes. Is the rest of his life then just a waste? Definitely not. Rather, it's clear that each person has to build up his soul from beginning to end, and in addition, pay special attention to the sin for which he was sent back to this world. If so, we see that the particular detail is not his main work at all times. Rather, there is a general reason as to why all people come down to this world. One has to clarify what this reason is, and when that becomes clear, it must be forever present in his mind and kept in sight at all times. This is necessary so that every moment he's alive, the reason why he is alive at that moment must guide his life. And therefore, he must live with this purpose in mind day after day, hour after hour, literally attending it to each moment. As to say that the knowledge of the reason for our existence is not an ordinary piece of information, but rather one to which one's entire life must be attuned. Therefore, each moment one must adapt his thoughts, feelings, and deeds to this reason. When a person knows and understands the reason for his existence, he will understand that even his personal rectification is connected to this general reason and is really part of it. Here's an example. A carpenter takes a saw in one hand and the board and plank in the other and begins to saw. If while sawing the board his thoughts are preoccupied with other matters and he does not put his mind to the task, it's likely that the cut will be faulty, the board will slip out of his hand, or God forbid, even cut his hand. This may happen even though when he took the saw in hand, he knew clearly what he was doing and why he was doing it. And he knows how to use the saw. Nevertheless, when he's actually sawing, all this escapes his mind, and he's thinking about something completely different. The same applies to what we're saying right now. Our rabbis have said that a judge must imagine that a sword is placed between his thighs, that even a small error would be dangerous. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter Zecher Tzadik Livracha has said that this applies to each person. For everyone is a judge over himself. Our work in this world is comparable to the case of the carpenter. If chas v'shalom, God forbid, one is distracted from the purpose and goal of life, he's in constant danger. Therefore, after he clarifies himself the purpose of his life, he must live with this knowledge on a daily basis, hour by hour, minute by minute, tested moment by moment. The knowledge of the purpose of life is not just a fact that one hears about, writes down, and then flies away for the record, cleaning off the dust once a year before Pesach. This knowledge must be experienced, must be lived, must be breathed, so that one is totally attuned to it. This has been the project of the Finding Holiness podcast. Listen, subscribe, rate, and review our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you receive your daily podcasts. Support the show or sponsor a class by heading to our website, findingholiness.buzzsprout.com.